You guys ever wonder how someone's able to go on a trip, eat everything they want, and then come back, hit the gym, and they're still jacked and shredded? And you may think to yourself, man, that guy's got insane genetics, or he's young and his metabolism is way up there. And really what it is this person is controlling and manipulating their glycogen storage within the muscle and their body fat percentage. You see, there's a direct correlation between the two. I'm gonna break it down right here. So what happens is the more you work out and the larger you can grow your muscles through strength training, you actually create more storage for what's called glycogen. I mean, glycogen is essentially the stored form of sugar or glucose. You can also just think of it as like a different form of body fat, but in your muscle. So it's just a stored form of energy. And the thing is, why is this an advantage? Because the more glycogen storage you have, that's more calories that can turn into glycogen and not body fat, right? We don't want body fat. We hate the way it looks around our waist, we hate the way it looks on our face, and we want to minimize our body fat and bring our body fat percentage down as low as possible. So how do these two things relate? During your day and then netting into your week, you consume calories. So that's your any drink with calories, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks. This is your total net calories in. And then throughout your day and week, you are, keeping the body's lights on. So this is just running processes, your organs doing their thing, keeping you alive. That's the basal rate. Your NEAT, non-exercise thermo activity. That's basically fidgeting, moving around, bouncing your knee at your desk, just these small micro movements you're not even aware of. And then the exercise you do during the day when you go and do your workouts. And then how much lean body mass you have. So how much muscle do you have that's actively burning calories to maintain. So all these things added up compared to what you've brought in equal out to a net energy change in calories. So if this net energy output is a deficit, what you did is you burned more calories than you consumed, which is what we want to go for. However, you want to do a net caloric deficit at a good pace. You don't want to do it too fast and you don't want to do it too slow. So strategic spot of where to put that. So that's kind of step one. And then obviously when you go on vacation or you travel or you fall off, you eat quite a bit more, you have a lot more calories in, the net energy is up and you have a caloric surplus. So let's go over these two scenarios. Scenario number 2, let's do a surplus. Let's start right here and let's start right here with these two levels. So when you have a caloric surplus and you have net energy, your body wants to store it for later, because it's a survival mechanism. Your body's a survival tool, wants to live as long as possible in all conditions. So when you have a surplus, before your body fat percentage goes up, your muscle glycogen stores go up. So whoop, muscle glycogen. And whenever you go to the gym, you have some muscle, you see this like crazy pump where you're like lifting weights and all of a sudden your muscles are 2 times bigger. A lot of that is due in part to the muscle glycogen because it attracts water into the muscle and gives you that pumped up look. So this is the benefit of having muscle glycogen right here. Because again, the initial caloric surplus is all going to muscle glycogen. So the more room you have to add here, that's more ability of putting energy in the fridge you can play with without adding any additional body fat. So that's a huge, huge benefit. So let's switch it around then. And let's say our net energy out was slightly negative and we have a caloric deficit. And then here, let's go. We're down into caloric deficit. So depending on that deficit, your body is going to use up the glycogen, the muscle in the liver, this refrigerated calorie. And then simultaneously, it's going to use a little bit of body fat as well to help supplement this energy. When you run a caloric deficit over time, your glycogen stores are going to run lower and lower and lower, and the body fat percentage is going to run lower alongside it as well. So this is great. This is exactly what we want. This is why when you're on a cut, you feel super flat. This is why your muscles just feel like they've shrunk and you feel like you've lost it all. But keep in mind, what it is this deficit is creating your muscles to just go flat. You haven't necessarily lost muscle tissue per se, you've just lost water out of the muscle, especially in the early stages. And that's muscle glycogen leaving. That's just part of the process. Your lifts aren't going to feel as juicy, and it's normal. It's just something we work through. However, on the positive side, lowering our body fat percentage. Your jaw's becoming more chiseled, you're becoming more vascular, and your abs are becoming more prominent. So it's exactly what we want. So how does this benefit us? Well, this is the balancing system we can create at the end of the day. So once we get your body fat percentage where we want it, which is the trek, say we get it to 10% as an example, now our glycogen stores are pretty low as well. And also we've been doing strength training along the way. So our muscle size and capacity has increased. So we have more storage. So now when we go on a trip, we go travel, or we go out to dinner, or we have a cheat day, we have all this capacity to store the caloric surplus. And the more you work out and lift, the larger your muscles are, the more capacity you have here. This is a huge benefit because as this goes up, you get very minimal change here. And the key is to know your limit within this. So when you get this maxed out to the top, then once the glycogens are full, you're kind of in this red zone of caloric surplus where everything else is starting to turn into increased body fat. And we don't want that. We want to stay within the buffer zone right here of keeping the calories surplus not too extreme. This is something that gets fleshed out over time, and I coach you through is understanding where this boundary is for you, because everybody's different depending on how much like output we're doing as well. But this is the mechanism of balancing on the end. So this is how you can stay lean, have some flexibility and balance, but also, maintain that. So this is like the intuitive thing you have to build within your mind through these processes over and over to kind of dial this all away. So do you see why? How you can go back and forth between lowering and raising your glycogen and keeping your body fat percentage low. And you'd be shocked like how much room you have to play with this, especially after you lift for a while. So this is the game that I play when I go and cheat or go and travel. And even if you do top this off for like a day or two, you can really feel it. Like you can feel it inside your gut. You just feel like this bloated being and you have these massive pumps at the gym, but then also you start to feel fluffy because the body fat percentage starts to increase, right? So when you start to see that, you're like, oh shit, I got to dump the refrigerator. I don't want too much going on and increasing in the freezer. So that is the key, guys. We play around with this. There's a little bit more complexity to it. I can talk about in a different video, but I hope this helps you kind of understand the different concepts within, so you can create that flexibility and balance for you.